Hey y'all, welcome to the recap of the finale of Bachelor in Paradise Season 7 with me, Brianna's Bachelor Breakdown. So, a few housekeeping things. I'm going to have timestamps in the description, so feel free to skip around. Also, I got a super special surprise for all of you coming out later this week. I'm doing a bonus recap episode with the guys from the Run Amok podcast, David, Gary, and Carson. They have their own Bachelor recap channel, which I will also link in the description. But we're going to be running through the season, giving all of our thoughts on all the drama that went down this summer, as well as giving out awards, such as who was the best couple, what was the most awkward moment, what was the best moment. So definitely tune in for that. You don't want to miss it. Half of it is going to be on their channel, and then half of it is going to be on my channel. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm back with my favorite tweet of the night. So this one reads, history, parentheses, that was overdue, has been made in Bachelor history. Riley and Maurissa are the first black couple to be engaged in Bachelor Nation. Finally. And then it has two pictures of Riley proposing, and then their afterwards picture of them being like, we're engaged. And this picture, or this tweet, / this moment was just so exciting to me. It summed up like my feelings of the night, the thing that I was most excited to watch from that 3-hour long episode. Because first of all, it, like the tweet author said, it is long overdue. We've definitely seen black people and other people of color make it far in this franchise. Obviously, we're about to be on our third black bachelorette, so it's not that we don't see black people in this franchise, but we have never ever seen a black couple, pick one another and end up together. And after this mess of a season, having black women being disrespected left and right, I was happy that at least one black woman got the happy ending that she wanted. She ended up with the man that he wanted. He didn't run any game on her the whole season. So that was it just warmed my heart and my soul. And additionally, just in a larger conversation of media in general, like we don't see black couples a lot in media, and when we do, it's usually in media that is made by black people for black people, which is nothing wrong with that, but obviously the Bachelor Nation audience is not that. It's a predominantly white audience. So I think it was nice and exciting to have that sort of representation in front of a different audience, because it is a beautiful pairing, and I think it needs to be celebrated and represented more. So I'm very happy for them. They were definitely my favorite couple of the season, and the couple that I was most excited to kind of watch their journey kind of come to an end on Paradise, but like really just get started for the rest of their whole life. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit out of order for this episode, because there was like a lot that happened, but also like not a lot that happened. All the couples obviously, either break up or decide to embark on a fantasy suite together, which has the implication that you will be getting engaged the next day. And so we get to see Riley and Marissa's dinner date leading up to their fantasy suite. And Riley, he is just so romantic in this moment. He's finally giving Maurissa what she wanted. She's been saying for the past few weeks that she, is really into Riley, and there's not anything that he's necessarily doing wrong, but that he's great at showing how much he cares about her and how interested he is in her through his actions. But he doesn't always do the same with his words. I think her love language is words of affirmation. So Riley finally pours his heart out to her, and he tells her this vision that he's had about, waking up with his future family on a Sunday morning and, just enjoying the simple things in life, quality time, sharing breakfast together. And then he says to Maurissa, when I see you, I see Sunday morning. And whew, I'm about to cry right now. Like, that was just so beautiful. And I'm not a person who typically likes words. Like, it's a lot for me to be, to feel comfortable with someone, saying a lot of words to me, because it's just overwhelming. But just hearing Riley say that and knowing that is exactly what Maurissa wanted and needed to hear in that moment, it just, oh my gosh, I love them so much as a couple. And so then obviously the next day they get engaged. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Super happy for them. And then we also have two other couples. We have Kenny and Mari, and then we also have Joe and Serena. So I'll start off with Kenny and Mari. Ken is over here. Like I said last episode, y'all, this man, I'm convinced, spoiler alert, he did propose to her, but I'm convinced that he was trying to exit this relationship at every chance he could, right up until the last moment. Like, this man, I told y'all last week, I felt like he was projecting onto her when he was like, oh, like, I'm just not sure where Mari's head is at. Like, I feel like she's pulling back, because he was really feeling a little bit of cold feet, and he wanted to create a situation that would cause her to pull back and thus give him that out that he either subconsciously or consciously was looking for, without him looking like the bad guy. So he did that last week. It didn't really work, because Mari was like, I'm going to call this priestess witch person down, and we're going to get your negative energy together. So he's like, okay. He comes back this week. He's like, okay, new tactic, new week. You're 25, I'm 40. Don't you want to live your life in your 20s? I don't want you to be missing out on anything. And that's the key, y'all. He's trying to frame this about her. He's like, oh, I don't want you to miss out on anything. I want you to enjoy your 20s and your 30s, because I've done all that, and, like, I'm good, but, like, I don't know how you are. And I feel like when someone does that, the thing is, Mari hadn't expressed any reservation. She hadn't expressed, like, oh, there's these things that I want to do in my 20s that I feel like I can't do if I'm settled down, or that I can't do with a partner. So I feel like he was just pulling that out of thin air whenever someone kind of makes an assumption about what motivations or desires you have without any input from you. It's clear that it's not, they don't think that it's actually coming from you. They just want to plant that seed in your head, so then you can be like, oh, you know what, maybe he's right. Like, I hadn't considered that I wanted to do X, Y, and Z before. And then again, that would leave Mari to be able to be like, oh, well, you know what, you're right. Let me go do X, Y, and Z in my 20s. We don't actually have to get engaged. That, again, does not work. Mari's like, nope, I've always said I wanted to get married young. Like, I'm good on the parties. I'm good on the clubs. Like, here we are. I'm ready. Let me know when you're going to propose. Like, it's not going to work. So Kenny has no choice but to proceed. But this man, he is still passing out red flags like they are candy at Halloween. And Mari is just oblivious. She is blind to all of it. This man, I was watching their little pre-date before their fantasy suites, and he just essentially went through a whole laundry list of red flags in front of her, and in his confessionals. He was like, I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have kids. I never wanted to settle down. Everyone always thought that I was going to be alone. I've never told anyone that I loved them. Like, just all of this extra stuff. And Mari's just like, okay, yeah, fine. That's fine with me. Like, girl, like, it's just confusing. I'm not entirely surprised that he did propose to her, just because that's the nature of this show. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm probably not gonna keep up with their relationship because I do not care. But I will be interested to see if they make headlines or whatever, like if it's shoved in my face at a later date, you know, what will become of their relationship. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. And I mean, they could prove me wrong. They could get married and, you know, have a happy relationship. But I just feel like deep down, Kenny either needs to do some work with his like commitment issues and resolve that so that he can be the partner that Mari deserves and needs, or they're just going to crumble because Kenny's going to continuously try to take these little like exits out of the relationship and plant these little seeds in Mari's head until she finally, you know, gets the hint. But we'll see where that goes. And then we have Joe and Serena. They say, I love you. For me, I literally wrote down in my notes, I was like, they say I love you, ... for the second time, ? Like, they made it seem like a really big deal. But then I realized or remembered that Bachelor Nation places such distinction on saying I'm falling in love with you versus I am in love with you. And so I guess they said the former when they were laying down on the blanket a couple weeks ago. So they're now officially in love, which is exciting. You know, I like them as a couple. I'm happy for them. They do whatever they need to do. They're about to get engaged. And then Miss Kendall rolls up onto the beach, and says absolutely nothing. Like, she nothing was spoken. Nothing came out of her mouth. I feel like the producers, made her do that because I refuse to believe that this girl wants to be embarrassed this much. You should never let a man tell you that he does not want you twice, let alone 3 and 4 times. Like, I absolutely refuse to believe that she just woke up in her hotel room and was like, you know what, before you send me on this plane back to wherever I need to go, let me go not even try to get him back. Like, not even try to get closure. Like, just absolutely literally say nothing of substance. I saw a tweet that was like, that could have been an email. And it absolutely could have. One that I should have been taken off of because I don't even want that. It did nothing for me. Joe, he's a little frazzled, I guess, because it's not often that you see your ex 2 minutes before you're about to propose to your future fiance. So I don't think he was really like questioning or second guessing anything. I think he was just like not prepared for that, understandably. And he goes through, he proposes to Serena. It's beautiful. It's cute. I'm happy for them. So that kind of wraps up all the couples that make it to the end of this season and are engaged. So skipping backwards a little bit, one thing I have to comment on is Caelynn and Dean, y'all, as the host of this episode. I don't know whose idea that was. I don't know who approved it, but there are several people that I need to talk to and ask them why. Because they're not at all a Bachelor Nation model couple. There are so many couples, even couples that met in Paradise, that have a much stronger, a much more admirable and functional relationship that I would have much preferred to see to host this finale, because they were standing up there like they're some sort of relationship gurus when, if I'm remembering correctly, Caelynn left with Dean to go live with him in his van. And when Dean was talking like, hey, y'all know y'all about to get engaged like in 2 days, do what you need to do, Caelynn looked up at him and she said something like, yes, like, me too, I want that. And he was like, no, not you. And I was just looking at the screen like, someone please help this girl. Like, please unclench whatever hold Dean has on her heart. Please get her away and out of that, because clearly I think she's fooling herself a little bit. I never really bought into their relationship. I feel like Dean has a personality that she likes and that she's compatible with, but I don't think that he gives her what she wants out of a relationship, and I think she's settling. That's another story for another day, but I was displeased with them on my screen. I would have much loved to see, a Jade and Tanner, a Carly and Evan, Raven and Adam, like literally anyone else. There's so many other people. I'm sure they were available to take a 3-day, all expenses paid vacation to Mexico. Like, it's not adding up. Going all the way back to the beginning of the episode, we witnessed Abigail and Noah completing their breakups. They finished breaking up. Not much to remark on. I feel like they kind of got everything off their chest the week before, but they say their final words. Noah at this point seems very numb. He seems very like checked out. He got everything off his chest. I don't know how he expected it to go, but it's obviously like she's not taking it well, and I think that's hard for him because he genuinely did like her, and I think he would have wanted to stay with her. I mean, at that point in time, because another spoiler alert, they get back together after the show finishes, but I think he would have been happy to kind of continue their time in Paradise together had she given him that reciprocation that he was looking for at that point in time. So they go their separate ways for the time being. And this I thought was very interesting what happened afterwards, because Noah speeds off, doesn't say goodbye to anyone, not even his friends. Whereas Abigail goes downstairs and she solicits support from her girlfriends, and they kind of, comfort her, ask her what's going on, and try to give her some like encouragement and advice. And I just thought that was an interesting like gender dynamic in a sense, just about how like guys and girls approach like tough situations differently, and how guys are more likely to just kind of try to shoulder it on their own and just kind of like, do their own thing, not show like weakness or whatever. Whereas girls, we invite that support in. We're reaching out to our community, our support group, and we're like, hey guys, this thing just happened. I need you here with me right now. And I think that's why, this is kind of another tangent, but I think that's why after a serious breakup, usually the girl is the one who's like really in her feelings at first, and she's like really upset over the guy, but then she moves on faster because she took that time to process what was going on. Because she did have that support group around her, she was able to let all her feelings out, talk about it in a healthy and productive way. Whereas guys usually just kind of stuff it down, and whenever you do that, it's gonna come back up later. You have to deal with your feelings. It's just when you deal with them. It's either a question of now or later. You have to deal with them eventually. So that's why we often see guys post-breakup either get into a rebound relationship or just kind of go out a lot and just kind of lead a bit of a reckless lifestyle for a while. But then a few months later, once the girl is fully over everything, back to her normal self, that's when the guy starts reaching back out and he's like, hey, I miss you, I want X, Y, and Z, can we talk, can we get back together? It's because he's just now processing everything, and he's still not necessarily doing it in a healthy way. He's just trying to, again, put a band-aid on it by just going back to what's comfortable instead of actually addressing what's troubling him head on. That is another topic of discussion for another day. And plus, it's not even necessarily relevant to their situation because, as we saw in the end credits scene, they do get back together after filming. And I would love to know who initiated that. Because I feel like on both ends, if I were in their shoes, I would not want to reach back out to the other person because Noah had said some pretty, final things. Like, he repeated over and over again, you're not my person, right? So, if I were in Abigail's shoes, what would make me want to reach out to you? Like you said, what else is there to say after that? I'm not going to try to convince you that I am your person. And then on Noah's end, I feel like I would have way too much pride. Like, I'm not going to try to be like, hey girl, remember when I said all those things about you're not my person? I was just kidding. Don't take that seriously. Like, you want to go out for coffee? Like, I would have entirely too much pride to try to go back and rearrange that. But whatever, they got back together, they seem cute, they seem happy, and I've always said that I feel like if they can make it out of Paradise and get into a more normal, real-world relationship where they can go at a more staggered pace, they're not spending 24/7, number one, together, and also, number two, surrounded by other couples that I think they got caught up comparing themselves against. If they could get out of that Paradise scenario, they could have a much more functional and successful relationship. So I'm glad that they were able to find each other after the show finished airing or finished filming. So after the prom, the next day we have the rose ceremony. Natasha and Chelsea go home, obviously, and it was super sad watching Natasha in her car on the way home because she said a line that really stuck out to me. She was like, I just can't want this anymore. And I feel like that was such a relatable moment. Like, I feel like everyone's been there where you just want something so bad, but every time you try it, no matter how many different ways you try to go about it, it's just not working out for you. And so you just have to kind of question, like, is it me? Like, am I doing something wrong? Is this just not meant for me? Because even though Natasha's big storyline this season obviously was dealing with Brendan and kind of being wronged by Brendan, but she also didn't really create a lasting spark with the other two guys that she did go on a date with, which was Ed and Dr. Joe. And so I feel like with that being said, like, even though things didn't work out for Brendan, and that was clearly like, it's not me, it's you type situation, with the other two guys, I feel like she's probably there questioning, like, is it me? Like, did I do something wrong? And I really felt for her in that moment. I hope that she's out here getting her brand deals with her 400,000 Instagram followers. So I'm sure she'll be fine. And I mean, now she has all this like newfound publicity. Everyone, of course, she's attractive. So I'm sure some guy will come her way and she'll get her happy ending. It just might not be in the Bachelor like universe. And so then I'm just going to quickly run through all the rest of the breakups that we saw during this episode. So we saw Thomas and Becca break up. That was very weird and awkward to me. Because Thomas like started crying, but he was like talking while he was crying, and the sound, it wasn't like a crying sound that he was making. It just sounded very like garbled, like he had marbles in his mouth or something. It was weird. And it was also weird because he was like, you know what, I want to leave with you. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And Becca was like, no, I don't feel like you've been vulnerable enough with me for me to feel comfortable leaving with you. And I think also Joe made a good point to the rest of the guys, like, afterwards, he was like, you know, we have to remember that Becca has had 2 very public breakups in Bachelor Nation, and she probably doesn't want to go through that again. And I think that's a big part of it that she maybe didn't acknowledge on camera or even to herself. I don't really know. But it was just kind of weird, the way that they responded to the breakup, especially Thomas, because he really didn't miss a beat in saying, like, you know, I'm really sad, but, like, that's fine. I'll just show you that I can be the man that you wanted me to be. So he didn't really take it as a breakup. And to me, that just kind of felt like, especially after seeing the end credits of them, you know, announcing that they're together now, it felt like that breakup was fake. Like, it felt like they had some sort of off-camera conversation, be like, okay, we're not going to do fantasy suites, but, like, I'll get your number and we'll link back up whenever we get back to the States. Like, it was weird. And I would have preferred for them to just have that conversation. Just to be like, hey, I don't think we're at that place that we need to be to have those implications of going to the fantasy suite. I would love to continue getting to know you, you know, outside of this setting. I think Bachelor is so, like, all or nothing, like, engagement, proposal, or bust, that it doesn't really give people a lot of room to just have those in between, like, I just want to date you. I just want to see where this goes, and we can figure it out once we're back in the real world. The Bachelor doesn't give people those rooms to have those more natural and organic type of conversations. So I would have liked to see that. We also see Ed and Mykenna break up. Another awkward breakup, because Ed was over here like, I want to go to the fantasy suite with you as well, and I think Mykenna, she heard him out the first time. She's like, okay, like, that's fine, you can want that, but, like, I'm not really on the same page as you, so I think we should just part ways, right? Cool. But then Ed just kept pressing it. He kept saying it in different ways. He's like, but I felt a spark with you, and we've spent time together. Mykenna literally had to tell him in 3 to 4 different ways, like, no, I'm gonna leave you here. Like, I'm gonna go. And to the point where she literally had to lift her body up to signal this conversation is done. It was just, like, awkward. And I didn't really feel bad for Ed, because although it was nice that he took Mykenna out on the date, Natasha expressed in her interviews that she would have been open to maybe not doing a fantasy suite with Ed, but she would have been open to continuing to pursue one another after Paradise. And so I feel like he passed up that opportunity, and I think he did click with Natasha. I don't know how deep it was or how far it would have gone after the beach. And then finally we have this breakout couple of the night, Aaron and James. They're both competing against each other for quickest breakup of the night, because I was watching James's breakup. It literally was 2 sentences. James was like, or Anna was like, oh, you know what, like, I really like you, I want to see where this goes. And James was like, I don't. And that was it. And I was like, wow, that might have been the shortest breakup that I've ever seen in Bachelor history. And then Aaron comes out of here and he's like, I can beat you, does like a speed round with Tia, doesn't even let her get a word in, and then they ride off in the sunset together. It was super cute, playful, happy. I'm here for the romances. So I'm glad that we kind of got to see, like, a friendship explored, because although this is a show designed for romance and designed for people to, find their partner or whatever, I like that The Bachelor is incorporating some more like nice, pleasant friendships, and it's not just all about, because I feel like if people are not engaged in relationship drama, they're engaged in like contestant versus contestant drama, and so I like that we're getting to see a little bit more like happy moments between contestants, and that we don't always have to be like battling each other. And like back in like the 2000s, I feel like it was a really big thing for someone to come in and be like, well, I'm not here to make friends, like I'm only here to meet the love of my life, I don't care about hanging out with any of you. And I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that narrative in a sense, which I like, I'm here for. That's not to say that I don't want any contestant on contestant drama, because it would be really boring without it. Let me be perfectly clear. But I'm here for a little dose here and there. Thank you so much for sticking with me during all of Bachelor in Paradise. I will see you guys in a few days for that bonus surprise recap episode with the Run Amok podcast. And then I'll see you again in 2 weeks for the start of Michelle's season. All right.